the Anza students think the Bay Area has a huge gap between the rich and poor. Have you ever felt income inequality in your life?
Yeah, I have. I did grow up low income, and my family did have to move about like 14 times in my life just because of rent. And we just were always in the Bay Area. I think the first time I felt it was when I was maybe 8 or 9, because that's when I started to see the students around me with like phones or different clothes or different shoes, and they would also talk about like, oh yeah, I've been in my house my whole life, and I was like, wait, I don't have that. And that's when I was like, huh. So I started to ask my mom. I was like, they lived in their house their whole life, like, is that normal? And my mom was like trying to explain to me like, yeah, it's normal for people to live in the same house their whole life, but that's not our situation. Yeah, around that age was when I first started to feel it.
What do you think about the economic inequality in the Bay Area?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty significant. Like even going there like as a tourist, like it's pretty obvious. Like once you go to one area, it's like covered in like homelessness and whatnot. But then like a few blocks down, it's like the nicest houses you've ever seen. So yeah, it's pretty obvious.
It's a really kind of a ridiculous and abnormal condition I am watching out, or everybody are seeing now, that we have such crazy economic inequality. So I think barrier, this definitely is a problem we need to solve, because we see people work in tech industry, work in financial industry are getting more and more rich. Even after pandemic, this trend goes on. But we see a lot of people, poor family, like they have no solution, they have no help, they can't do anything. They just struggling with, they have to struggle to earn money for food every day. It's kind of ridiculous.
There we go. It's a good question. I think it's crazy. I think it's like definitely something that needs, what's the word, like management. Like I would love if people like in our like our representatives, not just our representatives, but people like in our like county government could try to find a way to like balance it out, or at least instead of having like all these rich people and then all these like low income people, maybe have it more of like just a spread out.
What do you think we should do to reduce the gap?
The government can reduce like economic equality by taxing higher income earners, and then by fixing a minimum fair wage, and then maybe they can also try to invest in education and training job. In that way, that can help managing the gap between poor and rich people.
I mean it's kind of hard to say, but I mean I feel like it's just financial literacy for the most part. Like I feel like poor people don't really know how to best manage their money, and it's mostly because they have no choice also but to use the money that they have. But yeah, it's kind of hard to say with any real answers. Yeah.
I see.
But yeah, I feel like just like learning more on how to use money.
Goes to like if you make above a certain income, you have to like a percentage of that has to go towards like housing, or maybe like a food bank. Like I think there could be like you know how we do ballots, like voting, we could have a section where it's like what should we focus our like tax funds on. And then for example, if it's housing, then for the next maybe like 2 or 4 years until the next one, the extra like the income that goes to people who make, for example, over like 300,000 has to go to housing. So it's like if everyone who made over 300,000 just gave 2.5% to housing, that would be like a lot. At least like a good amount of it would go to housing, and that way you would have these like low income families maybe be given like more affordable homes, and then that way you would have more people, like especially like families in like section 8 or families who are homeless, like they would at least be able to have some kind of housing.
Then the students realized the massive income inequality and think what people can do to reduce the gap and solve the problem.